So I wanted to give you an update after running my Vera Plus for about a month now after running the Vera Decouple scripts. Everything seems to be working on the Vera side, and I think I've got all of the features on my Synology NAS working in conjunction with the Vera. The complicating factor is trying to figure out, number one, which features were added or modified by the Vera Decouple scripts, and then where are those files, and then how are they getting run, and where are the various log messages coming from. So yeah, as I showed you in the previous video, I got the Syslog feature working, and that was in the Synology Log Center here. That's been very handy for debugging these. So you can see, for instance, there's this user bin rotate _ logs.sh that gets called every minute. But here was one at 8:51 and then 8:52. So every minute this rotate log script gets called, and I thought that's all it did. But if you go into that rotate log script, so the tricky part was figuring out where does that come from, or where does that get run. So I suspected it was out of the CronTab, and here's the output of the CronTab, and you can see right here at the top, I calls this rotate logs shell script, and you can see it runs every minute. And then there's also three more things that get done. One here is this delete this alerts.json file, and that's tagged with decouple. And I think what that's doing is the alerts are one of the features that the Vera Cloud service enables. And if you don't have any connection to the Vera Cloud service, you might as well just delete the alerts file, because there isn't any place to upload that file to. And then the other two things it does here, there's one here at 2300 that runs this long command, and then there's this one at 5 minutes after midnight that runs this other command. So the first part is with the Z-Wave backup. So in the CronTab at 11 p.m., it basically uses this command here to create the Z-Wave network backup. So it's basically telling localhost port 3480, which is the Vera port, do this Z-Wave network backup. So that basically writes out this backup file, and then at 12:05 a.m. in the morning, it then copies that network backup to the NAS via FTP. It runs this script here, says decouple daily backup, and then it logs the output of that backup. This is the line that does the actual FTP, file transfer protocol. It uses ultimately this command, and then it's going to my user account and password on my NAS at the IP address of the NAS. And the thing I had to add was this home folder, because for some reason on the Synology, if you go FTP to my Vera user, you end up one folder up. And I did that here in this decouple daily backup. And it says, do not edit this file. Well, I guess I have to edit the file. So I had to come in here and add HOME/ and then the serial number, and then HA gateway backup with the serial number and the version and the date and all that, .tgz. There's that file that got created by that FTP upload. And then the original file gets deleted because you don't need it anymore. It's been backed up. So if you're using a Synology NAS, you got to put that home in there. I don't know if other NASs do the same thing or they have something different. And then I decided to look into this rotate log shell script, because that's another one. It was running, but it didn't seem to be doing anything. And I finally got it doing something. In fact, you can see that here. I've got all of these log files, upgrade log, syslog, all of these log files. So this is the log backup, which is different than the syslog. So for the log backup, it runs this rotate logs shell script out of the CronTab. And what I did was I added a variable in that script called FTP home, and I defined it to be the string HOME. Inside the file, they use the same command, FTP user, which is set from the Vera Decouple script, and then there's FTP password, and then your FTP server. And so then I just inserted here this FTP home ahead of the serial number. This does the same thing. It copies these log files to your Vera Home serial number and then log entry. Yeah, so you can see all those files. It basically creates these log backup files. Let's see, I think I counted that there's 13 files uploaded per cycle, and they seem to run every 10 minutes. Like you can see, rotate logs runs every minute. 9:06 it ran. There's 9:07 it ran, nothing happened. 9:09 here, all of a sudden I started getting all these FTP connections. Connected via FTP. Looks like a lot of these are like 21 bytes. They're basically just empty files, I think. But you can see at 9:09, rotate logs decided it was time to back up the log files. Like I said, I came into this rotate logs shell script, and I added this variable called FTP home. Almost at the end of the file, you just look for where the FTP commands are built. And there's two places. One is that there's a log, and I think that's what's here. But then this is the actual command here. FTP user, FTP password. There's the FTP server. And then here's my FTP home that I added in there. And then all the rest. So I just basically inserted that stuff right there. And that was what was needed to get the logs working. And you can see they're all working now. So we had all of these FTPs, and then it's back here 9:10. It's just doing rotate logs. So like it does that 9 times, doesn't do anything visible anyway. And then on the 10th time, it uploads the log files. So you do get a lot of files here. Yeah, 763 files. Yeah, these are compressed log files, so you have to download it off your Synology, decompress it, and then you can open it up with a text editor and look at the file. Yeah, just a few closing thoughts. One is with my Vera Decoupled, I'm still getting connections into Home Assistant here. Here you can see my diversion load here running, and there's the diversion load and my total home power usage. And you can see it's really clean. The blue line here almost perfectly follows the yellow line, except inverted. Much better than it was before. Now, one thing that I'm not clear on is if that Home Assistant connection goes away August 1st, I guess I will find out, because I'm decoupled from the cloud and this is still working. Now, one thing I did find here, this was again Toggled Bits, calls it his Vera Alert pushover. He talks about here, since Eslo is going to paid subscription, he came up with this plugin that then lets you use alerts without having to use the Vera Cloud or the Vera app. But if you look over here, there's this Issues tab. Somebody here said fork working with Home Assistant. So this guy has uploaded a plugin except that it works with Home Assistant. So it says he started migrating to Home Assistant using the Vera as the Z-Wave gateway, which that's basically what I'm doing. Now he says this is for Alexa. I'll probably do this one. I'll download these files and figure I'll try that on August 1st if I need it. Anyway, that's kind of where things are at. So yeah, if you're trying to do a Synology NAS with your Vera Decouple using the NAS as your backup and log server, there's something you have to do in addition to running the Vera Decouple script. So anyway, I'll try to put some notes in the video description. Yeah, I think everything's looking good. So yeah, if you have any questions, drop those in the comments section below. And if you're trying out the Decouple Vera scripts, let me know your experience with that and what kind of server you're using to back up all your files on. So as always, thanks for watching.